What is going on, guys? PANJ here, and today I'm going to bring you guys the updated Ultimate FPS increase guide for CSGO. Whether this be the first video of mine that you've seen, or if you've followed my previous FPS tutorials on games like CSGO, this video is aiming to give you guys the best FPS possible on the latest and greatest optimizations, especially for the most recent updates within inside of CSGO. Compared to my previous FPS guides that I've followed on this game, a lot of the optimizations on the older guides for this game in which I've provided for you guys are now pretty much completely outdated, and some of the options within inside of there can even harm your FPS. So compared to my previous FPS guide, my PC personally was running around about 480 frames per second on the last FPS guide, completely maxed out on my high-end PC. And with this one in the FPS benchmark, it's scraping to around about the 600 mark. So the comparison between the older guide and this guide is absolutely insane. And if you guys haven't even followed any of these videos beforehand, your performance increase should be absolutely phenomenal. And speaking of results, with inside of this video, if you guys are happy with the results of this video, a like on the video will be deeply appreciated. And if you guys can head down into that comment section down below if you run an FPS benchmark maybe beforehand doing this video and after, and let me know what the results are down there, as it's always fantastic to get a general idea of what other people have managed to get from this guide, depending on the hardware in which you've got, and it's always fantastic to get some feedback from you guys. And also a very quick heads up for any of you guys who are frequent followers of my content and enjoy the content I put out. I've recently started up a Patreon, and the link will be down in the description down below. It's just there for anyone who wishes to further support the channel and myself being able to do this on a more frequent and consistent basis. It just helps me solidify my income and keeps me being able to do this for a longer amount of time. And just helps me put more time into doing this. Just know that it's not entirely necessary and I can get by just fine without it. Just for any of you guys who wish to further support the channel, the option is there to do so if you want. And to keep this as fast and informative as possible, let's get straight into the video. Okay, so starting on with the guide, like most of my guides, you guys are going to have to go down into the description down below and actually follow the link for the Ultimate FPS increase pack. Go ahead and download it, it'll more than likely bring you to a Dropbox link. Download the file within inside of the Dropbox link, put it onto your desktop, and you'll be given a file that looks just like this. To open this file, you're either going to need a program called 7-zip or WinRAR. Links will be down in the description down below, or you can just Google either of the names, install them to the machine, and you'll be able to open up this file. Once you guys have got one of those programs installed, or if you already have one of those programs installed, go ahead, right click on the file and hit extract here. Once you've then done that, you'll then be given a folder on your desktop that looks very similar to this, called CSGO 2018 FPS Increase Pack by PANJ. Double click on the folder, and then on the side of there, you'll notice that there is a game files folder, an optimizations folder, and a credits.txt. On the side of the credits.txt, you can find the original download links for any of the programs in which are inside of here, just so you can go and pay credits over to the original authors, find out what their websites are, and look for the latest updated versions of that. Or if you want to have a more in-depth description as to what any of the things might do inside of this video, you can often find them in there. Right, so starting off, what we're going to be doing is actually installing our custom optimized game files. So what we're going to be doing is going into the game files folder, and then within inside of here, you'll notice that there is a launch options.txt, and there are 4 folders within inside of here for different configs, ranging from ultra low end all the way up to high end. So within inside of here, you're going to have to be real with yourself and decide on what sort of category you'd put your computer in. So whether you have a high-end PC, low-end PC, medium-end, or ultra-low-end, you're going to be going with the corresponding config for what your PC is like. If you're running on an older low-end PC, I recommend maybe going for the ultra-low-end or the low-end one. If you guys are running on a reasonably modern PC, but it's not worth that much, and for anyone running on a fairly modern PC or above with decent-ish specs, go with the high-end config. So depending on which config we're going to be going with, we're actually going to be going into the corresponding folder. For me, I'm actually recording this guide on my high-end PC, but next to me I do have my low-end PC and I have put the low-end config on that. But seeing we're actually recording this guide on my high-end PC, I'm going to be going into the high-end folder. So again, click on the corresponding folder for the config you're going to be installing. So for me, that's high-end, so I'm going to be going into high-end. And then on the side of the config folder you've clicked on, you'll then notice that there is an autoexec.cfg, video.txt, and video defaults.txt. Now the fantastic thing about this FPS guide compared to the other one is the config we're going to be installing is just an auto exec. So all of your game sensitivity settings, view model settings, and your own personal config will all look the same, and it won't change anything to do with your game settings or anything like that. This just goes ahead and adds additional commands within inside of the game and cleans up some of the commands within inside of the game to ensure you're getting the best optimizations possible. So with that being said, we're actually ready to go ahead and install our custom game config now, and that's very, very easy to do. So simply go ahead, navigate to the bottom left hand side of your PC and type this PC. Click on this PC, then go ahead to your local disk C found here on the left hand side, then going into program files x86, or just program files if you don't have the x86 folder. Then on the side of there, scroll all the way down until you find a folder called Steam. Then on the side of Steam, find the folder called user data, double click, and then within inside of here, you'll have all of the user data from all of the Steam profiles within inside of your PC. If you guys have multiple folders in here, like I do, and you're not entirely sure which one of these is your main account you want to install this to, just go ahead and install the custom game files to every one of these accounts to ensure that you manage to install them to your actual account. That might sound a little bit confusing, but just repeat the steps for every single folder within inside of here. It doesn't take particularly long, it just means that you'll be able to get them installed properly if you're not sure which your account is. So for me, I'm going to be going into my profile, which is this one here, double clicking, and then within inside of there, there, you will find a folder called 730, just like so. Double click on 730, then go into local, then going into CFG. And then inside of here, we're then going to get the CFG we've downloaded from the FPS pack provided, and we're going to go ahead and actually highlight all of the files within inside of the custom game files provided, right click and press copy. Then going over to our actual CFG folder within inside of our Steam, right clicking and pressing paste. It'll ask you to replace the files in this destination, that's absolutely fine, go ahead and press that, and then your custom game files are actually installed. Again, for any of you guys who are running multiple profiles and you're not entirely sure which your profile is, just simply go back to the user data folder, go into the other folders inside of there, go into 730, go into local, CFG, and just continue repeating those steps until you've done it for all of the folders within inside of user data. And then once you guys are done inside of there installing your custom game config files, you can go ahead and exit out of both of the folders. And then within inside of there, we can actually go ahead and install our brand new custom launch options, which have been optimized for the 2018 updates of CSGO. So to do that, simply go ahead into the FPS pack provided once again, go into the game files folder, and then this time we're going to be going to launchoptions.txt and double clicking. On the side of here, you'll then be given a notepad that looks just like this, and we have a few customization options within inside of here, depending on what sort of system we're running on. So on the side of here, we're going to be changing the frequency value and the max FPS value. So depending on what your monitor's refresh rate is, now if you're not entirely sure what I'm talking about and you're not sure what your monitor refresh rate is, we're going to be setting this to 60, as that is normally the standard of most monitors. If you guys know what refresh rate your monitor is, say it be 60, 75, 100, 120, 165, 180, 200 or 240 Hz, you can follow that command down there. So for me, I personally have a 144 Hz monitor, so I'm going to be putting in dash frequency 144. Again, for you guys who are not sure what I'm talking about at this step, just make sure it says dash frequency 60. Now the only other option within inside of here we can actually go ahead and customize is our maximum FPS cap we've put inside of the game. You guys can change this to any value you wish to do so. Some people like to lock it to the average frame rate they get. I personally like to have it unlocked, so I pretty much just go with 900. Again, you can set this to anything you wish to do so, or just leave it default. Once you guys have customized your custom launch options, what we're going to go ahead and do is actually drag all the way from the right hand side to the left hand side, so it should look just like that. Once that's all highlighted, go ahead and right click and press copy, minimize the notepad, then go ahead and navigate down to Steam, go to CSGO, right click on CSGO, go down to properties, and then on the side of here we're going to be going to the set launch options tab just found here, click it once, and if you guys have any previous launch options installed here, just go ahead and delete everything so this is a blank space, then go ahead, right click, and hit paste. Once you guys have hit paste, it should look very similar to that. Just go ahead and then press OK. And another thing I recommend doing is actually for any of you guys who don't use the Steam overlay whilst in game, is actually going to these two options here and actually disabling the enable Steam overlay in game and the use desktop theater whilst Steam VR is active. With both those disabled, you will also get further FPS increases because it doesn't actually run the Steam overlay within inside of the game. I highly recommend using those two options as you can still invite people and be invited to games from people inside of CSGO without the Steam overlay, and it just helps increase FPS, especially on those lower end machines. Once you guys are done inside of there, you can then simply go ahead and press close, and whilst we are still inside of Steam, we can actually go ahead and apply some application fixes to the CSGO application itself to ensure that we are running the most optimized version possible. So to do this, it's very simple. Right click on CSGO within inside of Steam again, go to properties. This time we're going to be going to the local files tab found here at the top. Click it once, then go to browse local files and then click. And then on the side of here, we're going to be going to the CSGO application file. It looks very similar to this. Right click on it, then go down to properties. Then on the side of here, go to the compatibility tab found at the top. And we're actually going to be checking the option to override high DPI scaling behavior performed by. Click it once and go to application. Now in my previous FPS guides and for other games, I actually recommend checking the disable full screen optimizations tab. But for CSGO, I've actually done a lot of testing. You do not want to enable disable full screen optimizations. You don't want this on anymore. So if you guys have it on, make sure it's disabled by leaving it unchecked. Just enable the override high DPI scaling behavior. Make sure your screen looks like this and you're good to go. Once it's then applied, go ahead and press the apply button, press OK, and we can then exit out. Another quick tip for any of you guys who have SSDs installed to your system, CSGO does have FPS benefits and loading time benefits from installing it to an SSD. So if you guys do play CS a lot and you do have an SSD inside of your system, but CS isn't installed to it, I would highly recommend moving CSGO over to your SSD, as you will see pretty good performance boosts from changing it over from a hard drive. Now that we're done optimizing the game itself, we can actually go ahead and further optimize our operating system to ensure that we're getting the best FPS possible, not just with inside of CSGO, but pretty much every game you play and other applications you use. This will see great benefits for FPS with inside of CSGO and other games, so I do recommend that you follow along with the rest of this guide. Now, before we do anything with the operating system itself, what I like to go ahead and actually do is enable a system restore point at the beginning of this, just to ensure that if you guys are not happy with the results from this, you can go ahead and revert everything back with a couple of clicks of a button to the point before you've actually followed this guide. This is for anyone who is not happy with the results, or if you manage to follow this guide wrong, or you just want to revert everything back for any reason whatsoever, you guys can do that, and it just gives you guys peace of mind. So you can try this. If you don't like it, you can actually go ahead and just revert it all back with a couple of clicks of a button. But for pretty much everyone watching, I guarantee you'll be happy with the results and you'll want to keep them. It's just there as a safeguard in case anything goes wrong. So to do this, we're going to be going down to the bottom left hand side and we're going to be typing in restore. Once you guys have typed that in, go to the create a restore point and click it once. And then with inside of here, we're going to be going to the system protection tab at the top. And we're going to be going down to our local disk C drive. Highlight it once and then go ahead and press the configure button. Inside of here, make sure turn on system protection is checked at the top. Go to the max usage slider here, and I like to set this to around about 3 or 5%. Once that's then set, go ahead and press the apply button and press OK. Once you guys have done that, go ahead and press the create button. Then on the side of here, you can call this anything you wish to do so. We're just going to name it backup. Go ahead and press the create button once again, and it will then create your system restore point. Once the restore point has been successfully created, it will let you know that, and you guys can go ahead and press close, and then press OK. And from this point on with inside of the guide, you can actually go ahead and revert Windows back to exactly how it is right now if you're not happy with any of the results, or you just wish to revert back for any reasons. If you guys are more than happy with the results from this guide though, and you don't wish to revert back, you don't have to do anything else, and we can just continue on following on with this guide. So starting off, what we're going to be doing is enabling a secret gaming mode within inside of Windows to ensure that we're getting a higher game prioritization within inside of the operating system itself, to ensure that our PC is putting more resources over towards games than it is other applications. So to do this, we're going to be going ahead to the bottom left hand side and typing in run, and then pressing enter. Then on the side of the run text box, we're going to be typing in regedit, just like so, and then pressing enter again. Once you guys have then done that, the registry editor for Windows will then open up. This might look a little bit confusing, but just follow along with the steps on the screen and listen to what I'm saying, and it'll be very easy to follow on with. What we're going to be doing is going over to the HKey local machine folder found here, double clicking, and then inside of here, we're going to be going to the software tab by double clicking again. Inside of here, we're then going to be scrolling down to the Microsoft folder, double clicking again, and scrolling all the way down until we find a folder called Windows NT, which looks similar to this. Go ahead, double click on the folder, go into the current version folder by double clicking again. Then we're going to be scrolling down until we find a folder called multimedia. Then once you guys have found the multimedia folder, double click on it again, then go to system profile and click on system profile once. Once you guys have clicked on system profile, we're going to be navigating to the right hand side here into this blank space. We're going to be right clicking and selecting new dword 32-bit value. Click it once, and then we're going to be naming this key inside of here system responsiveness. Just like so, but you guys can actually navigate down to the description down below and also copy and paste this name in there, just in case you don't want to do any spelling mistakes or anything like that, and just make it easier for yourself. So once that's then typed in, we're going to be going ahead and pressing enter, and then on the side of there, double click and set the value data to 0. Make sure the base is set to hexadecimal and press OK. Now for some of you guys watching this, the system responsiveness file might already be in there, but the value might be different. So if it is already in there, just double click on it, set the value data to 0 and press OK. Once you guys are done inside of there, go into the system profile folder again, this time double click on system profile, go inside of tasks, then on the side of tasks we're going to be going to the games folder and double clicking. Inside of here we're going to be altering a couple of values. It's very simple to do. We're going to be starting off by going over to the priority key, double clicking on priority. We're going to be setting the value with inside of here to 6. Press OK. And then we're going to be doing the same for GPU priority by double clicking. But this time we're going to be setting the value for GPU priority to 8. Then press OK. And then last but not least, we're going to be going over to the scheduling category. This is usually defaultly set to medium. It should look just like so. We're going to be taking off that value and we're going to be typing in high, which is HIGH, just like so, and then press OK. And what we can actually go ahead and do now is actually exit out of the registry editor, as that is now done. Proceeding on from there, we're going to be applying some Windows audio fixes to ensure that we have no post-processing running on our CPU and ensuring that our game files are running natively. This can actually help reduce input lag within inside of some games, and it can also help reduce any CPU overhead that might be having to ensure that you're getting the best FPS possible. So to do this, simply go ahead and navigate to the bottom right hand side and right click on your speaker icon. then go to playback devices within inside of there. And then within inside of playback devices, you're then going to be looking for your speakers or headset or whatever your audio output is for your games and videos. And if you guys are listening to this video right now whilst doing this, you should be seeing the audio levels bouncing up and down in green here. But typically it's going to be the audio device which has the green tick next to it. So once you guys have found what your audio device is, we're going to be going ahead and right clicking on the audio device and going to properties. And now before we apply any fixes within inside of here, once you guys apply the fixes, if you guys actually notice that your audio has cut out and you can't hear anything, that's absolutely fine, don't panic. Just go ahead and close out of any programs that you're running, whether that be your web browser or Spotify or whatever it is. Just go ahead and close out of that program, open the program back up again, and you'll be able to hear just fine. Just sometimes when you're configuring your sound settings within inside of Windows with programs open, the sound often cuts out and the program needs to be restarted. It's just very simple. So proceeding on with the optimizations, we're going to be going over to the enhancements tab found here at the top, and going to disable all sound effects on the left hand side, checking it. And then once you guys have gone ahead and done that, go ahead and press the apply button down here. And then proceeding on from there, we're going to be going to the advanced tab at the top, going over to default format, going to the drop down menu, scrolling all the way up to 16-bit 44,100 Hz CD quality, selecting that, pressing apply, and then pressing OK. And then pressing OK once again. And proceeding on from there, what we can actually go ahead and do now is optimize your page file location depending on what sort of system specs you're running on to ensure we're getting the best performance possible. This might sound a little bit confusing, but it's very, very simple to do and very effective. Simply go ahead and navigate to the bottom left hand side, click on the Windows button, and this time we're going to be typing in this PC. We're going to be going ahead and right clicking on this PC and going to properties. Within inside of here, we're then going to be navigating to the left hand side and clicking on advanced system settings. Once the pop-up menu then comes up, go to the advanced tab, go to performance and hit settings. Within inside of the visual effects tab we're going to be starting off with, we're going to be going ahead and adjusting this to custom. And we're going to proceed to uncheck everything within inside of it just by simply clicking on the tick. We want to uncheck pretty much every single option within inside of here besides smooth edges of screen fonts and show thumbnails instead of icons. Now for me personally, I also like to turn off smooth edges of screen fonts as I prefer the rougher looking text within inside of Windows. This is personal preference, but I recommend most of you keep this on. And once you guys have got those set, go ahead and press the apply button. Once you guys are done with inside of there, go to the advanced tab found at the top, go to processor scheduling, set to adjust best performance of programs. And then inside of here, we're going to be going to the virtual memory tab and clicking change. Within inside of here, for most of you guys, the automatically managed page file size for all drives will be checked at the top. We actually want to go ahead and uncheck that. And then within inside of here, we're going to be going ahead and deleting any page files on any hard drives or SSDs you have currently installed. So to do this, it's simple to do. Go ahead and select your C drive or whichever drive is at the top. Go down to no paging file and then press set. It comes up with a pop-up menu, that's fine, just go ahead and press yes. And proceed to do that for any other drives within inside of your system, if there are any. So for me, I'm going to do that for my D drive, no page file, set. My E drive, no page file, set. And proceed to do that for any other hard drives on your system. Now once we've actually gone ahead and deleted our old paging file, we're actually going to be going ahead and installing a brand new one in the best location possible for your system, depending on what your system specs are. So on the right hand side of the screen now, I'm going to be putting up a criteria as to where you should be installing your page file depending on your system specs. The best place to be putting your page file would be on side of an SSD. So even if you have your games installed to the SSD, or if you just have an SSD installed to your system and no other hard drives, we always want to put the page file on your SSD. If you guys don't have an SSD installed, but you have multiple hard drives installed, we want to always put the page file on the hard drive that does not have your games installed to it. And for any of you guys who just have one drive installed, whether that be an SSD or a hard drive, we're going to be installing the page file to that. So going off of that criteria, for my machine here, I actually have an SSD. My SSD is my C drive, so I'm going to be installing my page file to that. So again, go off the criteria on the right hand side and what I just said, find out which drive you're going to be installing it to, find out which letter of the drive you're going to be installing it to is, and then go ahead and highlight that drive. Once you've highlighted the drive, simply go ahead to the system manage size here, and then select set. Once it's then set, go ahead and press OK. It'll then notify that a restart will be required for any changes to take effect. That's fine, just press OK, press apply, press OK, and then press OK once again. And we're going to be going over to the restart later button and clicking that, as we're going to be restarting our machine after all of the optimizations have been applied, so we can come back to the video with all of the optimizations good and ready to go. Now for any of you guys watching this video, before we apply some graphics card optimizations, I actually want you guys to go ahead and make sure that you're running on the latest GPU drivers. It's very simple and easy to do. Simply navigate into the description down below and find the corresponding link for whichever GPU you have installed, whether it be an NVIDIA GeForce card or an AMD Radeon card. Click on the corresponding link, you'll be brought to these websites here. If you guys are running on an NVIDIA card, go to the automatic driver updates tab found here at the top, click download, follow the wizard, it'll go ahead and detect and install everything for you. For you AMD users, it's a very similar process. We also want to go to this website found here, go to the automatically detect and install your driver tab, hit download now, follow the on-screen wizard, it will go ahead and detect and install everything for you. The main reason I'm telling you guys to update your GPU drivers now at this point in the video is to ensure that we can apply the optimizations to the latest update of your GPU driver. It might sound a little bit confusing, but we just want to make sure that you don't revert any options back to default when you install them. So install them, come back to the video, and we're good to go. Proceeding on from there, for any of you guys who are running on an NVIDIA GPU of any kind, I want you guys to go ahead into the FPS pack provided, go into the optimizations folder within inside of here, and go to the NVIDIA Inspector tab. Inside of here, go ahead and load up the NVIDIA Profile Inspector by double clicking, and then this tab here will then open up. What I want you guys to go ahead and do is go to the profiles at the top here and search for Counter, and then go to Counter-Strike Global Offensive within inside of here. And now once the Counter-Strike Global Offensive profile has then loaded, I want you guys to navigate down to the bottom here to where it says 2, sync and refresh, and go to the frame rate limiter mode. Go into the drop-down menu within inside of here by double clicking. And we're then going to be wanting to set the option within inside of here to control, delay, flip by flip. You might not be able to see all of the name, but just go for the one that says delay, flip by flip. Just within inside of here, select that. Once it's then selected, it should read frame rate limiter to control, delay, flip by flip metering. Make sure it says that. And now once you've set that within inside of your game, simply go to the top right hand side and press apply changes a couple of times. Once you're then done with inside of there, you can then go ahead and actually exit out. Once you guys are then done with inside of the NVIDIA Inspector, you can also go into the NVIDIA Settings tab inside of here and look at some screenshots for the best optimizations to your NVIDIA control panel. I'm not going to be going through this in detail with inside of here, as the screenshots in here are very, very clear and you can follow along with them easily. And then that's it for the NVIDIA specific optimizations. For the rest of this video, everyone can be following along. So proceeding on from there, we're now going to be applying the best power mode options within inside of Windows to ensure that our games are getting the most out of the resources available to them. To do this, go to the bottom left hand side and then type in power. With inside of here, click on any of the battery with the quarter around it icons, doesn't matter what it says, just click on it. Go to the power options tab found here at the top. Then on the side of here, go to the show additional plans drop down menu and find the high performance plan. Make sure you then select the high performance plan, go to change plan settings, and then inside of here, these two options here are personal preference, so you can set them to anything you wish to do so for your system. It doesn't affect performance, but what we're interested in doing is going to the change advanced power settings plan found here. Starting off with that, we're going to be going to the hard disk option, pressing the plus button, going into turn off hard disk after by pressing the plus button again, going to the setting, double clicking and setting the amount of minutes to 0. This will more than likely be set to around about 20 by default, but go ahead, change the 20 to 0, press apply, and on the side of here, scroll all the way down again, go to processor power management, double click on that, then double click on minimum processor state and maximum processor state and ensure both of them are set to 100%. If they're not, double click on the blue text, set it to 100%, press apply, and then press OK. Once you're then done inside of there, hit save changes on the power options, and you can then exit out. Proceeding on from there, we're then going to be applying one of the biggest optimizations within inside of here, and that is actually unparking your CPU. This might sound a little bit strange, but what it basically does is it ensures that 100% of your CPU cores and speed can be used for any application that demands it. Whereas Windows will usually limit your game to around about 80% of what your CPU is capable of, so other applications running in the background can run smooth. And this is so that for people who do a lot of multitasking and have loads of programs open whilst they're playing games or other things, it means that the CPU resources can be put on reserve in case they're needed. And with CPU unparking, what this basically allows you to do is whilst you're playing any games and anything hectic happens and you need 100% of your CPU resources, otherwise your game might stutter or lag or your frame rate might drop, what unparking your CPU actually does is it ensures that Windows has 100% access to 100% of your CPU all of the time as and when it might need it. It's very, very safe to do, and I highly recommend everyone doing this as it is very easy as well. So what we're going to be doing is going into the FPS pack provided once again, going into the optimizations folder provided, then going into CPU core parking setup, double clicking, and we're then going to proceed with following on with the wizard. So go ahead and press next, accept the terms of the license agreement and press next, install it to the default location by pressing next again, and press install. Once you guys have installed the program, make sure that the launch CPU core parking 3.exe has then been checked, and press finish. Then within inside of here, once you guys have opened up the program, it'll look similar to this, but your options won't be the same. We're going to be going ahead and starting off by going to the left hand side here to system power plan and selecting high performance, as that is now the power plan we're running onside our systems. Once that's then set to high performance, go down to the core parking index slider here. This will more than likely be set to something that's not 100%, but what we're going to be doing is dragging that all the way up to 100%. which allows Windows to use 100% of our CPU cores. And then we're going to be going over to the frequency scaling index and also following on with that step by dragging that all the way up to 100% as well, which then means Windows has access to 100% of the CPU cores at 100% of their speed, as and when your game might need it. This drastically helps with any FPS drops you might be having or any times that your FPS might absolutely plummet if the game gets pretty hectic. In a lot of games as well, this also helps increase the overall frame rate you're experiencing. So once you guys have got those options set, go ahead and press apply. It'll then notify that the changes have successfully been applied and press OK. And you guys can then go ahead and actually close out of the program. And now we're moving on to pretty much one of the last steps within inside of your system optimizations. And that is just to perform some overall system maintenance very quickly. And we're going to be doing that by going ahead and actually going to the bottom left hand side, typing in %appdata%, just like so, and pressing enter. And then within inside of here, go to the app data folder found here at the top, go into the local folder, and then within inside of the local folder, scroll all the way down until you find a folder called TEMP or temp. Go ahead and double click on that folder. And then within inside of here, this is a folder which is filled with all excess Windows caching files, dump files, or just temporary files that have been thrown in here by programs you might have installed. So what we're going to be doing is going ahead and dragging from the top to the bottom every single folder and file within inside of here, right clicking and pressing delete. It'll then notify you that the action cannot be completed for all folders and files within inside of here. That's fine. Go ahead and do this for all current items and hit skip. It might then come up with the pop-up again. That's fine. Go ahead and select do this for all current items and skip. Once that action is then complete, you might also notice that a couple of folders and files are remaining, and that's absolutely fine, as the only folders and files remaining within inside of here are the only ones that Windows is actually using. Everything else within inside of that folder that you've just gone ahead and deleted is an excess temporary file, caching file that hasn't been used for who knows how long. Depending on how old your system installation of Windows is, these files could have been sat on your PC for years, just taking up unnecessary space and slowing down your system. It's at this point in most of my tutorials where I ask you guys to go into the comments below and actually let me know how much you actually managed to remove from this folder, as some of the stories are absolutely insane, and I think the most I've ever heard was around about 120 gigabytes being removed from this folder of unnecessary rubbish just sat there taking up space on your hard drive or SSD. So if you did manage to catch how much you removed, let me know down in that comment section below, as it's always great to hear from you guys. Once you're then done inside of there, I like to then exit out, and I also like to go ahead to my recycling bin and hit empty recycling bin, and then press yes. Right, so with all that said and done out of the way, we are now done with all of the optimizations within inside of this video, and we're actually good to go ahead and restart our systems. So at this point in the video, I'm going to recommend you guys actually go ahead and restart your systems, come back onto this video with a fresh restart of Windows, come back to this video, boot into Steam, and we're then good to go and actually boot our game. Welcome back to the video, guys. You should have now restarted your systems and be ready to go ahead and do the last step within inside of this video and be ready to play CSGO. Last step within inside of here requires you to go into the FPS pack provided one last time, go into the optimizations folder, get the timer resolution application within inside of here, drag it onto your desktop, and exit out of the folder. Now within inside of here, this is a program in which I use for pretty much every single game and application I use on Windows. And what this program actually does is it lowers the amount of latency between the hardware, operating system, and game application itself to ensure all of those components can talk to each other at the most efficient rate possible. This might sound a little bit overly technical for some of you guys out there, but it pretty much means that everything can talk to each other at the fastest rate possible, ensuring that you guys are getting the best FPS possible, the lowest amount of input lag, and the lowest frame times possible, which is fantastic, and I've seen phenomenal results from this program. So to use it, regardless of what sort of program or game you're running, you want to go ahead and double click on the program, go ahead to the maximum button, which sets the lowest timer possible, minimize the program, just leave it running on the desktop, play your game or be in your application for however long you wish to do so. Once you're then done, close out your game or your application, go to your program again by maximizing it, press default, and then exit out. And seeming that we're now done with everything inside of the video and we're good to go ahead and actually boot our game, we're going to be going over to time resolution, booting into it, selecting maximum, minimizing, going over to Steam. I also recommend you guys go ahead and exit out of anything in your taskbar which might be running and which you don't need, especially for any of you Google Chrome users out there. Make sure you close out of that if you're not using it, as it hogs resources on pretty much any machine out there. And with all that said and done out of the way, we're good to go ahead and press play. And there you guys have it, my updated Ultimate FPS increase guide for CSGO. If you guys are happy with the results, please do let me know down in the comment section down below of what they are, or any general feedback, questions, or queries. Let me know down in that comments below, because it is always fantastic to hear from you guys. If you guys are pleased with the results, please also hit that like button, as it is deeply appreciated, and share this around with any friends, family, teammates, or anyone else on Steam you might know who can benefit from these optimizations. And for any of you guys who wish to stay up to date with my content or be notified when I do upload new videos, whether that be updated guides, new guides, or anything to do with system optimizations, whether that be for mobiles, PCs, games, and pretty much just anything to do with getting the most out of your tech without spending a penny, Make sure you go ahead and actually press that subscription button down below and press the bell notification to be notified whenever I upload. Again, for any of you guys who wish to further support the channel, the Patreon link is down in the description down below for any of you guys who wish to further support my work. Again, it's not entirely necessary, it's just for you guys out there who appreciate what I do and just might want to help support me in doing it. And a big thank you to any of you guys who have taken the time out of your day to follow along with this video, and I deeply hope you guys are more than pleased with the results in which you're getting. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. I have been PANJ, and I am out.